Me can't sleep. Sleeping is a myth. Completely. Even when me asleep, me not really asleep. Me just I get shut eye. Because the ears are tuned in, listening for anything from the slightest murmur to full-scale bawling. And my prince is pretty good. But even when he's quiet, every now and then I just gotta check if he's still breathing. You know what I mean? Got me thinking about protecting our children. One of my most treasured and respected aunties congratulated me by saying, we have another soldier in the African Liberation Army. And she's right. But then it occurs to me that in affirming what she said, not only am I preparing my son for danger, I am directly putting him in harm's way. The term free thought is overused and misused in today's world. It's a term often referring to an individual's self-obsession and desire to achieve primarily via the dictates of the popular society. But because they're a little weird and quirky, they're called free thinkers. Their values, however, are not fundamentally different to those of the popular society. It occurs to me that free thought must go against the system. It must be revolutionary. So the only free thinkers are those who envisage a world outside of these confines. My son's examples are therefore people like Thomas Sankara and Maurice Bishop, Namzama Madikizela Mandela and Steve Biko, Fela Anikula Pakuti, Miriam Makeba and Bongi Makeba, Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Amy Jates Garvey, Omowale Malcolm X and Leonard Percival Howell, Kwame Nkrumah and Assata Shakur. These are people who envisaged amazing things, yet somehow we question their relevance in 2018. Sankara, for example, made his nation of Burkina Faso completely food self-sufficient in 4 years, while rejecting all aid and loans from Western nations and institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. This is some serious free thinking, but he paid the ultimate price for it: assassination. What kind of parent brings a child into the world knowing they are being prepared to fight? Then again, what kind of parent brings a child into the world knowing the world is a battlefield, yet doesn't prepare them to fight? What good is free thought if it only maintains oppression? The consciousness of Rastafari. One of the foundation texts is the Holy Pippi. In the chapter, God's Law to the Children of Ethiopia, it reads, "Be ye not contented in the vineyard or household of others, for ye know not the day or the hour when denial shall appear. Prepare ye rather for yourselves a foundation, for by no other way can man manifest love for the offsprings of the womb." We are guided by this in terms of the parents we want to be. And while I want to protect my son, I ain't raising no slave, mental, spiritual, or physical. Free thought will be defined by how much we cultivate his creative instincts and ability in the service of his people and the development of a different world. I honor my father as we are now 3 generations deep in this consciousness as far as my lineage is concerned in terms of manhood. My son will be stronger for it. We carry on tradition. Just my vision still. Mwari tipa yo masimba. Ashe. Peace and blessings, kings and queens. Welcome to another new Black Daddy Diary. I know it's been a hot minute since I've done one of these, but man's been busy in that, raising my son, and also, making sure that the economic foundation is sound. Yeah, shout out to my brothers and sisters at Got Kush TV, and I urge all of you to check out Got Kush TV because that's what's been taking up a lot of my time and my energy. We've got some big things coming here, so let's take a moment right now to pause this video, or just open up a new window or a tab and just go to Got Kush TV on YouTube and subscribe because big things are come very, very soon. Yeah, so I look forward to sharing that stuff with you as well. But yeah, I'm getting back to my new Black Daddy Diaries once again, just sharing the thoughts in that I had noted down. You know what I'm saying? Upon becoming a father 6 months ago now, so I've been a daddy for 6 months. And this one, we had just got home, yeah, with our baby and thing. And yeah, it was settling into that kind of home life, innit? You know what I'm saying? Obviously we were in hospital for a few days, and finally being able to bring him home, you know, you get into a different kind of thing. You're trying to establish a routine now. You know what I'm saying? You know, you have to shape the house around him and them kind of things there. And so one of the major things that people say to you when you have a child is, are you getting any sleep? Yeah, are you getting any sleep? And to be honest with you, yeah, it's interesting because he's never actually slept that badly. Yeah, like from his birth, he usually give you a good 3 hours. Yeah, in the sleeping thing. So we generally, you know, kind of. You know, he had a routine already, you know what I'm saying? And he's generally quite a calm, you know what I'm saying, happy kind of baby, yeah? The only thing he really gets serious about is food, you know what I mean? So, but it's not like the not sleeping thing, yeah? What I found anyway, all right? And I love to hear if parents have this experience. Not being able to sleep had less to do with how he slept or how well he slept or did not sleep. It was my own state of mind, yeah? Because the consciousness now is that you've got this little person to take care of and mind. And so even when you're sleeping, it's difficult to get into a state of, you know, gone, I sleep and all them something, because you it's like your entire mind, yeah, consciousness is not even in your head. It's with this child, yeah, and so your ears are just always pricked up. And I'm a light sleeper in general, anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it was even this difficult to sleep, even when he slept for long periods of time, because every little cough, every little breathe hard, yeah, wake up for check on him, man. You know what I'm saying? Them kind of things there. So yeah, like I know, like I said, I love to hear our parents' experiences, but it was more that, you know what I'm saying, than the fact that of whether he didn't let you make you sleep or not, you know. That was very interesting, you know what I'm saying? But then one of my brothers said that that kind of is the development of my protective instinct. Yeah, my protective instinct is developing. I think it was Dalian and Duffo who said that. We got Dalian. Yeah, so I'm getting my protective instinct, and that kind of made me think as well. You know what I'm saying, about this whole thing, especially because at the same time, when I announced, you know, that, you know, the birth of my son, one of my aunties in the community said, yeah, we've got a new warrior in the Liberation Army, you know what I'm saying, which I like them kind of vibes there, you know what I mean, because yeah, I want to raise my child with a sense of purpose, and it's good that there are others in the community that understand that purpose, that can reinforce that purpose for him. But then I began to relate this idea of protection, yeah, and the fact of this Liberation Army idea, yeah, and it took me into the mind of our ancestors, yeah, and thinking that, you know, the kind of mentality that it would have taken to bring children into a world, knowing, yeah, that you're birthing children into a condition called slavery, yeah, knowing that this child is going to be considered property of the so-called master, the criminal that is enslaving you. Knowing, yeah, that you're gonna have to prepare them as a part of raising them. You're gonna have to prepare them for the horrors, yeah, and I mean absolute, you know what I'm saying, direct horrors that they're gonna experience. I remember listening to Sister Joy DeGray, author of the book Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, once, and in going through the narrative, yeah, of the traumas, yeah, that we experienced, our ancestors experienced. She gave the example of, imagine, you know, your mother and your daughter gets to 11, 12, 13 years old, and, you know, the criminal that is enslaving you sends for your daughter, and now you have to prepare her for the possibility, for the actually event, yeah, the imminent reality of the fact that she's about to be raped, yeah, and, you know, as she went through that, she used all manner of descriptive language, yeah, and the mentality of parents having to go through that, you know what I'm saying? Imagine you're a father, and, you know what I'm saying, I'm bearing in mind that men were also raped, yeah, on the plantation, you know, but what we normally associate with men is savage beatings, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And imagine having to prepare your son, you know what I'm saying, for the fact that he will be beat savagely. Do you know what I'm saying? And how does that affect your protective instinct as a parent? Yeah, because the protective instinct would be to shield your child from that completely. But now protection takes on a different kind of thing, because protecting them is actually preparing them for the fact that they're going to have to experience this. So you're preparing them mentally. You're preparing them mentally in order to protect them, so that they have some of their psyche left with them after they experience this thing. And so I was in that mentality, and I had to really give thanks, yeah, because I am obviously here as a direct result of the fact that people continue to have children and raise them and prepare them for the environments that they're about to face. You know what I'm saying? And so this might sound very morbid, or you know what I'm saying, but I always think it's a good thing to remember the sacrifices of our ancestors that brought us here, and obviously that became more apparent to me upon having a child. You know what I mean? So thinking about what it means to protect our children, yeah, and you know, there's been a lot of talk of this idea of free thought, yeah, recently. Like, what is free thought? Yeah, sorry, free thought, yeah, and what that actually means. Just what I'm saying. You know, like, we think we're free and we're thinking free nowadays, and I kind of realize, yeah, that a lot of the times when people talk about free thoughts, yeah, in this day and age, black people in particular, yeah, oftentimes it's relating to like the idea that black people supposedly have this unified idea or expression that looks like this. And my example of free thinking is that I am not going to do that. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? At the same time as we're not doing what is common to black folk, or thinking how black folk supposedly commonly think, yeah, whatever we're doing doesn't necessarily challenge the nature of the system that we're in at the moment. Yeah, in fact, oftentimes it reinforces it. Yeah, so I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this. But what you're doing doesn't challenge the nature of the system that we're living in. You see what I'm saying? So how free thinking are we really? And to think about that, it took me to a quote from Amos Wilson where he says, why is it that we're the only people that think being free is doing whatever we want to do? And it just so happens that whatever it is we want to do supports the system that is oppressing us. Yeah. It's a mad thing. Yeah. It's a reality. Like, you know, we got this thing about group think now, and everybody doesn't want to be involved in group think. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But none of our individual thoughts are bettering our collective condition. It's a mad thing. So it's like, I want my child to be able to think a certain way, think freely, but then what is free thought is basically my idea. And how do I teach him to be able to think freely in terms of this idea of protection and these kinds of things? A lot of us get our examples from, you know, our actions and our activities and our behavior patterns and our thought processes from other people, looking up to other people. Yeah. And so in looking at that, I started to think about the ideas of icons, yeah, and iconography. We all have them, even if we don't think we have them. Yeah, all of us learn via examples. Yeah, there is no human being that comes and just kind of develops in and of themselves without, you know, other examples and people that lead them in certain directions. Yeah, and so if I say now today, like for example, you know, the icons that I put out there as images of success are people like Bill Gates or Alan Sugar. And then, you know, you have people like Barack Obama and Oprah Winfrey, yeah? And then people like Jay-Z, yeah, Beyonce, Rihanna, yeah? These are icons of success, you see what I'm saying? Which are supposed to be current, present day, modern, yeah? The other day over here, we had Michelle Obama, yeah? And, you know, the talk around that social media, whatever, is how much she's an example for young black women of today and them kind of things. And these are supposed to be the current relevant examples of black excellence and black achievement. And I find it interesting that if I say Namzamo Madikizela, Winnie Mandela, if I say Omowale Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, if I say Samora Machel, yeah, president of Mozambique, you know, if I say these names, yeah, that oftentimes they're considered outdated. They're not necessarily relevant to the present time. And I think that that's instructive in terms of the kinds of iconography, the kinds of examples that our children are going to have to look up to. Just what I'm saying. The reality is that, you know, most of the current examples that I gave don't challenge the system in any way. In fact, they maintain it. Yeah. And that's not to say that there's no worth in the examples that they set. I wouldn't say that there's no worth in them, but I have to put it into all proper context. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that a lot of the time these people are figures of black excellence to factor into this idea of free thought also. Yeah. And I question that to some degree. Yeah. And how these examples from the previous generations are probably less relevant, but actually, in my humble opinion, manifest or demonstrate greater levels of what is free thought or free thought. I keep saying three. I watch a lot of documentaries, yeah, and films on schools like Eton and Harrow, which are like the top secondary schools in this country, in Britain, and also on Oxford and Cambridge, the top universities, yeah, and how those children and young people are educated. And very much the cultural context for their education is set because the great men and women, more specifically men in this instance, of British history, the principles that they represented and their achievements are constantly reinforced there throughout their education, in their school environment and them kind of things. So you've got dormitories and halls named after individuals, and the students are taught about these individuals and what they represented. The subjects of the courses, yeah, very much features these great individuals from 100, 200, 300 years ago, yeah, and what they represented and how they reinforce whatever it means to be British and Britishness and them kind of things, yeah. And so when I put it in context, what I realize is that children that are being taught to rule the world and run society are taught about the great historical figures of their history, of their culture, yeah. And those who are taught to serve in those environments are divorced from the great icons of their own history and given the icons of, the dominant society's history, if that makes sense, yeah? And so in thinking about it like that, one of the ways of protecting my son is preparing him for that reality or combating that reality. And so in the reflection today, and I know it's a long one today, in our views, I realize this one was a long reflection, yeah. So that's just what it is, yeah. Some of them are going to be long, yeah. Some of them are going to be long in the future, but they're not all this long, I promise you. All right. But I mentioned a number of examples. So Thomas Sankara, let's use that for an example, yeah. This is a man, yeah, who made his nation of Burkina Faso food self-sufficient in 4 years, yeah. There is barely a nation, if any, on the African continent or in the Caribbean right now that can state the claim that they are food self-sufficient, which means they grow within the nation all the food that is needed to feed the nation. Yeah, this man did this whilst refusing any loans from foreign nations or foreign institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, and in fact, with those particular foreign nations and institutions trying to literally destroy the economy of his country. Yeah, mad thing. In Burkina Faso at the time, they were suffering something called desertification, yeah, which is the expansion of desert, yeah, in their land. All right. And so in order to combat that, he was able to organize, yeah, Thomas Sankara was able to organize the people, particularly young people and children, yeah, to plant well over 1 million trees. Yeah. This is free thinking and creative thinking on some levels. That's the kind of levels that I want my son to emulate. Just what I'm saying, to think in them kind of ways there. I use a number of other examples. Let me see. Namzamo Madikizela, Winnie Mandela, yeah, who recently passed away. All right. What she represents to me is die-hard commitment, yeah, and dedication to principles in the face of being attacked around the world, yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Both physically, yeah, and in terms of character assassination, yeah. And she stayed on it from a very young woman, yeah, to well up in her 80s when she passed away. Just what I'm saying, that's the kind of dedication to a cause. Leonard Percival Howell, founding father of Rastafari, who in colonial Jamaica, yeah, developed a self-sufficient community on 500 acres, yeah, of land, yeah, whereby he was directing people away from paying taxes and pledging allegiance to the colonial government, which was the government of England, yeah, and developing a self-sufficient nation in the midst of what was called Pinnacle at the time. They grew their own food, they fed the people that were there, they built their own stores and educational institutions. They were even developing natural homeopathic and herbal remedies, yeah, for the people that lived in the commune. You know what I'm saying? They would go and sell whatever they were surplus in terms of what they developed to the people of Jamaica. You know what I mean? So like these are the levels of thinking that I want to engender in my son, innit? And he's going to be hit by a barrage, yeah, of other things from other people, just what I'm saying, in other places, you know what I mean? But it's my responsibility to give him these lessons in by any means necessary, you know what I mean? So in terms of free thought, all the people that I mentioned are people that were breaking out of the system, actively breaking out of the system. And that, to me, is the ultimate example of free thought. Yeah, we have to know we have to be specific, yeah, about what free thought is. Yeah, it's not this acting crazy and going on away. Yeah, that's not free thought. Yeah, and so in dealing with the consciousness of Rastafari, one of the things that has greatly inspired me is this particular book right here, The Holy Piggy. The context for this book is around the people that were around the Most Honourable Marcus Mosiah Garvey were developing their own spiritual ideals, yeah, their own spiritual ideals. And in doing so, they were looking for texts, yeah, that kind of spoke to their own spiritual journey, our own spiritual journey, in the same way that the Bible that they were actually reading at the time specifically related to the people that were called Jews, yeah. And so, you know, this brother by the name of Affley Rogers, yeah, basically wrote what the Holy Pibby, which is known as the Black Man's Bible, and left some instructions in there. And I'm gonna read one of the instructions that I mentioned, yeah, in the book. So in the chapter entitled God's Holy Law to the Children of Ethiopia, yeah, in a big title there, you know what I mean? You know? God's Holy Law to the Children of Ethiopia. Chapter 10 reads, Be ye not contented in the vineyard or household of others, for ye know not the day or hour when denial shall appear. Prepare ye rather for yourselves a foundation, for by no other way can man manifest love for the offsprings of the womb. Yeah, and I take a lot of inspiration from this book. Do you know what I'm saying? And a lot of inspiration from that particular chapter, in particular, because of what it says about parenting, yeah, and what it means to love your children. Loving them is not smothering them, you know, protecting them from every eventuality, you know what I mean? Spoiling them, buying them whatever they want, buying them, you know, in this context, you know, a Nike or a PlayStation, whatever it is, yeah, the latest whatever that all the children got at the moment is preparing them, yeah, you know what I'm saying, a foundation, yeah, to build upon. Yeah, that's the only way to express love for the offspring of the womb. Yeah? And that's instructive to me, you know what I'm saying? Because like being conscious of the fact that now you're raising your child to take on certain battles. And so, you know, you have to be able to prepare them in their character, yeah, and in their environment with the tools that they're going to need to be able to achieve that. In conclusion, what I've realized is that teaching my son conformity to the system is not going to protect him. Yeah, it's not a form of protection, and it's certainly not an example of free thought. Yeah, the only way to protect him is to prepare him for the battles that he's going to encounter, and to teach him methodologies of thought that live outside of and in fact challenge the nature of the system in which we live. I'm going to conclude this particular reflection, New Black Daddy reflection right here, you know what I mean? As I said, this is a long one, you know what I mean? But I hope you get something from it as always, and do feel free as always to leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you thought about this one still, you know what I mean? I give thanks for some lessons. See you in about a week's time. Bless, tend that worry.